7 terrifying archaeological discoveries in Egypt that left even the bravest experts shaken. Did you know that the world of archaeology is full of mysteries, many of them as fascinating as they are unsettling? Some secrets have remained buried beneath the desert sands for thousands of years. There are coffins that even the most experienced archaeologists have hesitated to open. And there are discoveries that have left the entire world asking a profound question. Have we truly uncovered the full story of ancient civilizations? Or have we only glimpsed a tiny fragment of a much larger picture? From mummies hiding astonishing secrets within their own bodies, to perfectly preserved tombs that remained untouched for more than 4 millennia, to embalming workshops containing long-lost formulas that disappeared thousands of years ago, every discovery reveals a story that is both mysterious and extraordinary. What sends the biggest chill down experts' spines isn't simply the incredible age of these artifacts, it's the realization that the more they uncover, the more countless mysteries remain beyond explanation. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Ancient History, the channel where we travel back through time to explore some of the greatest civilizations humanity has ever built. Among all the ancient civilizations, Egypt has always stood apart, shrouded in an aura of mystery. It is the land of colossal pyramids, powerful pharaohs worshipped as living gods, remarkably sophisticated mummification rituals that were far ahead of their time, and countless tombs still guarding secrets beneath the scorching desert sands. Even after centuries of research and the help of cutting-edge technology, every new excavation in Egypt continues to produce discoveries that astonish archaeologists and force them to reconsider theories once believed to be unquestionable. And that's exactly why in today's video, we're exploring 7 terrifying archaeological discoveries in Egypt that left even the bravest experts shaken. From mummies preserving secrets never before seen in history, to perfectly intact tombs that have defied the passage of time, to strange artifacts that are reshaping our understanding of the civilization that flourished along the Nile, every story is filled with unbelievable details that are completely real. So, are you ready to uncover these mysteries with me? If you are, brace yourself. Because the deeper we descend into the ancient soil of Egypt, the closer we come to secrets that perhaps even the ancient Egyptians never intended future generations to discover. Now, without keeping you waiting any longer, let's dive straight into our very first discovery. The 3,200-year-old tomb of an ancient Egyptian military commander reveals the power of the pharaohs. More than 3,000 years ago, in the vast deserts of Egypt, a powerful man was laid to rest alongside objects that symbolized his rank and authority. He was not a pharaoh, but he may have been the mastermind behind major military campaigns that helped protect the integrity of one of the greatest empires of the ancient world. Then, after thousands of years of silence, his tomb was unexpectedly awakened. Sealed for 3,200 years, the tomb still preserved traces of an era when the pharaohs ruled with absolute power. The objects resting beneath the desert floor were more than ancient artifacts. They were vital clues that allowed scientists to reconstruct the life of a mysterious military commander. This remarkable story unfolded in 2025, when Egyptian archaeologists announced an important discovery at Tel El Maskuta, an archaeological site in northeastern Egypt. There, they uncovered a tomb dating back approximately 3,200 years. It is believed to have belonged to a high-ranking military commander who served during the reign of Pharaoh Ramesses III, widely regarded as one of the last great pharaohs of ancient Egypt. As soon as researchers entered the tomb, they realized this was no ordinary burial. The artifacts they discovered immediately revealed the exceptional status of its owner. One of the most significant finds was a gold ring engraved with the name of Pharaoh Ramesses III. They also uncovered bronze arrowheads and a small ivory box. Although these objects may appear simple at first glance, they carry tremendous historical significance. In ancient Egyptian society, gold, military weapons, and rare luxury items were typically reserved for the ruling elite. More importantly, the objects directly associated with the reign of Ramesses III strongly suggest that the man buried here once held a prominent position within Egypt's military hierarchy. But what surprised archaeologists even more was another group of artifacts. Inside the tomb, they discovered pottery jars inscribed with the name of Pharaoh Horemheb, a ruler who reigned more than a century before Ramesses III, from about 1323 to 1295 BC. So why would the name of a pharaoh who lived over 100 years earlier appear inside the tomb of a military commander from the time of Ramesses III? Researchers believe the answer may lie in the fact that this area was used repeatedly over different historical periods. Horemheb himself began his career as a military general before becoming pharaoh, so the presence of his name may reflect the site's long-standing connection with Egypt's military establishment. As for the tomb's design, experts say it was built primarily from mud brick, a common construction material in ancient Egypt. The structure consists of a main burial chamber and 3 adjoining rooms, with walls coated in white plaster. Its carefully planned layout indicates that it was constructed for someone of exceptionally high social status. For that reason, archaeologists believe this tomb is far more than a simple burial site. It also provides valuable insight into the strategic importance of Tel el Maskuta during Egypt's New Kingdom period, which lasted from approximately 1550 to 1070 BC. At the time, the region served as a key defensive position along Egypt's eastern frontier, where the kingdom was forced to defend its borders against repeated external threats. As you can see, every archaeological discovery in Egypt is about much more than uncovering ancient objects. It is about piecing together the forgotten memories of a civilization that once dominated the ancient world. What's even more remarkable is that the discovery of this 3,200-year-old military commander's tomb is only one part of a series of groundbreaking archaeological finds announced in recent years. Shortly before this discovery, archaeologists astonished the world by announcing the discovery of the tomb of Pharaoh Thutmose II, one of the most significant royal discoveries since the tomb of Tutankhamun was uncovered in 1922. The tomb was discovered in the western valleys of the Theban necropolis near the city of Luxor by a joint British-Egyptian research team led by Dr. Piers Litherland. According to Muhammad Ismail Khalid, Secretary-General of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities, it is one of the most important archaeological discoveries of recent years. Even more exciting, just a few days later, the same research team announced that they may have located a second tomb associated with Thutmose II. Buried approximately 75 feet beneath the surface, it is concealed beneath a carefully arranged mixture of limestone, ash, mud, and plaster that appears to have been intentionally designed to hide the structure for thousands of years. Researchers believe the site may still contain the pharaoh's mummy, along with numerous priceless burial treasures. That wasn't the only extraordinary discovery. During the same year, a French-Swiss archaeological team also attracted worldwide attention after uncovering a tomb approximately 4,000 years old belonging to a powerful magician and physician who once served Egypt's pharaohs. Hieroglyphic inscriptions on the walls identified the tomb's owner as Teti-Nebufu, a renowned royal physician who served during the reign of King Pepi II around 2305 to 2118 BC. Taken together, these discoveries reveal one undeniable truth. Beneath Egypt's golden sands, countless untold stories are still waiting to be uncovered. And perhaps, somewhere deep beneath these ancient lands, even greater secrets remain hidden, waiting for the day they are finally brought back into the light. 4,000-year-old gateways to the world of the dead reveal a dark chapter of ancient Egypt. Have you ever wondered what the ancient Egyptians believed happened after death? Was death truly the end of life, or merely a doorway into another world? And what if I told you that archaeologists have discovered extraordinary gateways that were never meant for the living to walk through, but were instead created for the spirits of the dead to return? Would you believe it? It sounds unbelievable, doesn't it? Yet this isn't a legend or a myth. It's a real archaeological discovery that has given scientists new insight into one of the most mysterious periods in ancient Egyptian history. The story began in 2019 when a Spanish archaeological team announced an extraordinary discovery at the ancient cemetery of Ignacia el Medina, located in the region of Heracleopolis Magna, about 60 miles south of modern-day Cairo. There, they uncovered 3 sandstone false doors believed to date to Egypt's first intermediate period, which lasted from approximately 2160 to 2055 BC. What makes this discovery especially significant is that this period remains one of the least understood eras in Egyptian archaeology. The surviving historical records describe it as a time of political turmoil, conflict, and struggles for power, yet very little archaeological evidence has survived. As a result, every new discovery at Heracleopolis is considered an invaluable piece of the puzzle, helping researchers reconstruct a chapter of history that was almost completely forgotten. In addition to the 3 false doors, the archaeological team also uncovered 2 offering tables used in funerary rituals, along with a previously unknown tomb. However, what fascinated experts the most was the meaning behind these mysterious false doors. At first glance, they appear to be nothing more than rectangular doorways carved into stone, but they don't actually lead anywhere. So why would the ancient Egyptians devote so much effort to creating doors that could never be opened? The answer lies in their beliefs about the afterlife. According to Egyptologists, these false doors served as symbolic passageways connecting the world of the living with the spirits of the deceased. The ancient Egyptians believed that through these gateways, the souls of the dead could return to receive offerings, enjoy food and drink, and hear the prayers of their surviving family members. Egyptologist Salima Ikram has explained that these false doors served as a point of communication between the 2 worlds. The living could deliver messages to the deceased, while the spirits of the dead could return to receive the offerings placed before them before continuing their journey into the afterlife. During these ceremonies, beer and wine were among the most common offerings placed on the offering tables. The newly discovered false doors were carved from sandstone and beautifully decorated with religious inscriptions, along with the names and titles of those buried there. Remarkably, traces of blue and red paint still remain, as well as carved designs that imitate the appearance of a recessed doorway. According to Carmen Perez Diez, director of the excavation and a researcher at Spain's National Archaeological Museum, the artwork on these doors is exceptionally refined and likely belonged to individuals of high social standing, such as powerful priests or members of the royal family who lived close to the king. Even more intriguing, one of the false doors bears the name Khedi, a royal name that appeared during Egypt's 9th and 10th dynasties. During that era, the use of a royal name was often considered a sign of noble status or close ties to political power. Yet the greatest mystery surrounding this cemetery isn't simply the false doors themselves. It's the question, what really happened to the city of Heracleopolis? Previous excavations uncovered numerous tombs that had been deliberately burned and looted. However, archaeologists still don't know who was ultimately responsible for the destruction. Was it the result of wars between Heracleopolis in northern Egypt and Thebes in the south? Or was it simply the work of tomb robbers searching for gold and other valuable treasures? These questions arise because, according to experts, after the power of the Old Kingdom pharaohs based in Memphis declined around 2160 BC, many regional cities began competing for control of Egypt. For roughly a century, Heracleopolis became the dominant political center in northern Egypt, while Thebes controlled the south. The 2 rival powers fought repeatedly until the rulers of Thebes ultimately emerged victorious, reunifying Egypt and ushering in the prosperous Middle Kingdom. Exactly how that transfer of power unfolded, however, remains one of archaeology's greatest unanswered questions. In an effort to find answers, the research team analyzed burn marks preserved on the mud brick walls of the tombs. By studying the color changes in the fire-damaged bricks, they were able to estimate the temperatures reached during the fires and better understand how the destruction occurred. Their preliminary findings revealed that the entire cemetery was not destroyed in a single catastrophic blaze. Some tombs were left completely untouched, while others displayed obvious evidence of fire damage. This has led researchers to favor the theory that multiple smaller fires occurred at different times, possibly started by tomb robbers who entered the burial chambers in search of gold and other valuable objects. Salima Ikram believes it is unlikely that the rulers of Thebes intentionally destroyed the entire cemetery. Instead, she suggests that tomb robbers may have deliberately set fires inside certain areas to help break into the tombs or make it easier to steal valuable treasures. And that's exactly what makes this discovery so extraordinary. These 3 false doors may appear to be nothing more than ancient slabs of stone, but in reality, they open another kind of doorway, a gateway into the thoughts, beliefs, and deepest secrets of the people who lived in Egypt more than 4,000 years ago. There are undoubtedly many more stories still lying hidden beneath Egypt's endless sands, and with every ancient doorway that is uncovered, we move one step closer to understanding a civilization that once amazed the entire world. Archaeology really is fascinating, isn't it? The remarkably intact, 4,500-year-old tomb of an Egyptian official reveals rare secrets about ancient Egypt's middle class. Can you believe that among the thousands of Egyptian tombs that were looted centuries ago, there was still one burial chamber that remained almost perfectly intact, untouched by human hands for nearly 4,500 years? What's even more remarkable is that its owner wasn't a powerful pharaoh, nor a prince or a famous nobleman. He was simply a mid-ranking official, a man whose position in society would hardly suggest that his tomb would one day become one of the most valuable archaeological discoveries of modern times. So, what allowed this burial chamber to escape tomb robbers for nearly 4,500 years? And what secrets were preserved inside the room buried beneath the desert sands? Let's follow the clues and uncover this extraordinary story together. The story began in 2006 when archaeologists discovered an ancient tomb at Abusir, a vast necropolis located near Cairo, Egypt. Long known as the City of the Dead, Abusir served as the burial ground for kings, government officials, and nobles from Egypt's 5th dynasty through the 26th dynasty. What truly captured the attention of the archaeological world, however, came during the extensive excavations that followed as a Czech archaeological mission continued investigating the site. Hidden behind an old mud brick wall on the eastern side of the cemetery was a small burial chamber located about 33 feet beneath the surface. At first, no one suspected that anything extraordinary lay behind the weathered wall. But after only a few hours of excavation, expedition leader Miroslav Barta realized something that nearly made his heart stop. The tomb had never been looted. Just imagine what that meant. For thousands of years, nearly every Egyptian burial chamber had been broken into by grave robbers searching for gold, precious statues, or valuable funerary treasures. Even many of the pharaohs' tombs were unable to escape that fate. This tomb, however, was completely different. Everything remained exactly where the ancient Egyptians had carefully placed it nearly 4.5 millennia earlier. Miroslav Barta later recalled that his first emotion was overwhelming excitement. But only seconds later, that excitement was replaced by an enormous sense of responsibility. He knew he wasn't simply standing before another ancient tomb. He was looking at an irreplaceable archive of Egyptian history. What makes this discovery even more unique is that the tomb did not belong to a king or a member of the royal family. Instead, it belonged to a priest and government official from Egypt's 5th dynasty named Neferinpu. Based on inscriptions carved at the entrance, researchers determined that he served under two pharaohs, Neferirkare, who ruled from approximately 2475 to 2455 BC, and Niuserre, who reigned from about 2445 to 2421 BC. According to experts, Neferinpu most likely supervised state construction projects. It was an important government position, yet he still belonged to Egypt's wealthy middle class rather than the royal family or the highest ranks of the nobility. That is exactly what makes this discovery so extraordinary. Archaeologists have uncovered many royal tombs over the years, but an untouched burial chamber belonging to a middle-ranking official is exceptionally rare. As a result, this discovery offered scientists an invaluable opportunity to understand exactly how people of this social class lived and how they were buried. And that is precisely what they found. Stepping into the chamber, which measured only about 86 square feet, the excavation team felt as though they had traveled back in time to attend the funeral of an Egyptian official more than 4 millennia ago. Before them stood 10 sealed beer jars, more than 80 miniature limestone vessels, a small perfume container, and numerous plates and bowls symbolizing the food and drink that the ancient Egyptians believed the deceased would need in the afterlife. Most remarkable of all were 4 canopic jars, the famous containers used to preserve the internal organs during the mummification process. Every object remained exactly where it had originally been placed, as though the funeral had taken place only yesterday. When archaeologists opened the coffin, they found that Neferinpu's body had deteriorated significantly. Surprising, since he had been buried during a period when mummification techniques had not yet reached the level of sophistication seen in later dynasties. Even so, hundreds of decorative faience beads still remained on his remains. Beside him lay a walking staff approximately 6.5 feet long, decorated at the top with small pieces of gold. According to Tariq El-Awadi of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities, the coffin also contained a wooden scepter held in Neferinpu's left hand, a symbol of the authority and status he possessed during his lifetime. Yet what archaeologists value most about this discovery isn't the burial objects themselves. Its greatest significance lies in the extraordinary amount of historical information the tomb provides. Experts explain that modern archaeology is no longer focused simply on uncovering gold or hidden treasures. Its true goal is to reconstruct how people in the past actually lived, worked, and were laid to rest. Professor Salima Ikram, an Egyptologist at the American University in Cairo, also believes that Neferenpu represents the perfect example of ancient Egypt's prosperous middle class. He wasn't the wealthiest man in society, nor did he occupy the highest office. Precisely because of that, his tomb has allowed researchers to better understand a social class that history has rarely documented in detail. Studies also show that during the 5th dynasty, government officials remained entirely dependent upon the king. The size of a tomb, its architectural design, and even the quantity of burial goods were determined by the pharaoh himself. It wasn't until the 6th dynasty, when centralized royal authority gradually weakened, that government officials became wealthier and more independent, leading to increasingly lavish tombs in later generations. So why did Neferenpu's burial chamber manage to escape the tomb robbers? The answer, surprisingly, is remarkably simple. According to Miroslav Barta, the tomb was saved by its own simplicity. The structure was modestly built and occupied an unremarkable location. Directly across from it stood a much larger, more impressive, and far wealthier tomb, which quickly became the obvious target for treasure hunters. Tariq El-Awadi agrees, explaining that tomb robbers usually focused on monumental structures because they assumed those tombs contained the greatest riches. Neferenpu's humble burial chamber simply wasn't impressive enough to attract their attention. Ironically, what appeared to be its greatest weakness became its perfect protection for nearly 4,500 years. Isn't that fascinating? Sometimes history's greatest secrets aren't hidden inside magnificent palaces or gold-covered royal tombs. Instead, they quietly rest inside a small forgotten chamber beneath the desert sands, patiently waiting for the modern world to uncover them and piece together the surviving memories of one of history's greatest civilizations. I'd love to hear what you think about this discovery. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. 4,300-year-old gold-covered mummy and the untold secrets hidden beneath Egypt's desert sands. There is something truly extraordinary about Egypt that continues to amaze archaeologists to this day. The deeper they dig beneath the desert sands, the more they uncover tombs that seem to have vanished from history forever. But not every tomb is filled with gold or priceless treasures. Sometimes, what astonishes the scientific community the most is a coffin that has remained sealed for thousands of years, preserving the remains of an ancient person in an almost untouched state. One of the strongest examples of this was a discovery announced in January 2023 following excavations at the Saqqara necropolis, located about 20 miles south of Cairo, Egypt. Saqqara is one of the world's most famous archaeological complexes, serving as the burial ground for Egypt's kings, nobles, and high officials for thousands of years. Leading the excavation was Dr. Zahi Hawass, Egypt's former Minister of Antiquities, who has devoted decades to studying the country's pyramids and ancient tombs. It was here that he uncovered a rectangular limestone sarcophagus sealed with mortar using traditional ancient Egyptian construction techniques. Inside lay the remains of a man named Heka Shepes. Based on their initial examination, experts determined that the coffin was approximately 4,300 years old, and that its seal remained almost completely intact, appearing almost exactly as it had on the day ancient craftsmen completed the final burial ceremony. From these remarkable details, Dr. Hawass concluded that this could be the oldest and most complete mummy ever discovered in Egypt. After all, over the course of more than 4 millennia, Egypt has endured wars, earthquakes, tomb robberies, and the relentless effects of time. Yet this individual still rested peacefully inside his stone sarcophagus, wrapped in delicate sheets of gold, as though the ancient Egyptians had completed the burial only a short time ago. Even so, that wasn't what excited archaeologists the most. What thrilled them even more was the realization that this mummy represented only one part of an entire Old Kingdom cemetery complex. Nearby, the research team uncovered the tomb of Khnum-Jed-F, a priest who had served within the pyramid complex of Pharaoh Unas. They also discovered the burial place of another royal court official. Each newly uncovered tomb added another piece to the puzzle of how Egypt's elite lived more than 4,000 years ago. And the discoveries didn't stop there. Inside another tomb, archaeologists found 9 beautifully carved statues, Based on a nearby false door, Dr. Hawass believes the tomb most likely belonged to a priest named Messi. As excavations expanded, the team also uncovered a shaft descending approximately 33 feet below the surface. At the bottom, they discovered numerous remarkably well-preserved wooden statues, along with 3 stone statues depicting a man named Fetek. Beside these statues stood an offering table and a stone sarcophagus containing Fetek's mummy, indicating that this area once served as a burial ground for several individuals of high social status in ancient Egypt. The discoveries didn't end there. Researchers also recovered numerous amulets, stone vessels, pottery, statues of Egyptian deities, and a wide variety of everyday household objects. According to the archaeological team, all of these artifacts date from approximately the 25th to the 22nd centuries BC, providing an exceptionally detailed picture of daily life during Egypt's Old Kingdom. But do you think the surprises ended there? Not even close. While continuing their research on Egyptian mummies, scientists uncovered an even more astonishing story, although this one did not take place at Saqqara. Beginning in 2015, a research team led by Markin Eismond examined more than 40 Egyptian mummies housed at the National Museum in Warsaw, Poland. One of those mummies had originally been excavated from the royal necropolis at Thebes in Upper Egypt before being presented to the University of Warsaw in 1826 as a diplomatic gift. For nearly 2 centuries, everyone believed it was the mummy of an Egyptian male priest named Hor Jehuti, since early X-ray examinations and the hieroglyphic inscriptions on the coffin both appeared to support that conclusion. But when modern imaging technology was used to re-examine the mummy, the story took a completely unexpected turn. While analyzing the pelvic region, anthropologists noticed something highly unusual. Instead of the skeletal structure of a man, they saw the tiny foot of an unborn child. Additional CT scans and X-ray examinations confirmed the astonishing truth. The mummy actually belonged to a pregnant woman between 20 and 30 years old, carrying a fetus estimated to be 26 to 30 weeks into pregnancy when both mother and child died. Scientists believe the mummy dates to approximately the 1st century BC. This remarkable discovery opened an entirely new field of research into pregnancy, prenatal care, and ancient Egyptian burial practices. It has also given researchers a deeper understanding of how the ancient Egyptians viewed life, death, and the spiritual significance of unborn children within their religious beliefs. As you can see, every time archaeologists open an ancient coffin, they uncover far more than a mummy. They uncover stories that have never been told, people who lived thousands of years before us, and secrets that have remained hidden beneath Egypt's desert sands, patiently waiting for the modern world to discover them. 2,600-year-old mummification workshop reveals the secret formula behind ancient Egyptian mummies. For thousands of years, the world has been captivated by a question that no one has ever been able to answer completely. What did the ancient Egyptians use to create mummies that could survive for thousands of years while preserving their bodies in such remarkable condition? We know they were masters of the art of mummification, but their true formula seemed to have been buried forever beneath the desert sands alongside the pharaohs. Now, however, archaeologists have finally begun to uncover that secret. Surprisingly, they didn't find the answer written on an ancient papyrus scroll or carved into walls covered with hieroglyphs. Instead, it was hidden in a place almost no one would have expected, inside ordinary clay jars buried beneath the ground of a mummification workshop that had remained hidden for more than 2,600 years. When archaeologists recovered these jars, they realized they hadn't merely discovered ancient pottery. They had uncovered the chemical recipes that once allowed the ancient Egyptians to slow the natural process of decay. So just think about it. How could a civilization that lived more than 2.5 millennia ago develop preservation techniques so effective that they still astonish modern scientists today? The answer began to emerge through a study published in the journal Nature on February 1st, based on artifacts excavated from the ancient Saqqara necropolis, located about 19 miles south of Cairo, Egypt. In fact, archaeologists first discovered this remarkable workshop back in 2016 while excavating an underground embalming facility dating to approximately the 6th and 7th centuries BC, roughly 2,600 years ago. However, it took years of laboratory research and chemical analysis before experts were finally able to decipher the residues preserved inside the artifacts. In total, researchers recovered 121 ceramic vessels from the workshop. Among them, 31 jars still retained labels identifying their contents clearly enough for scientists from Germany and Egypt to conduct detailed analyses. And those seemingly ordinary containers turned out to provide one of the most important breakthroughs ever made in understanding ancient Egyptian mummification. Previously, scholars knew the names of several substances mentioned in ancient texts, but no one truly understood what those materials actually were. For the first time, researchers were able to determine the precise chemical composition of the substances used by Egyptian embalmers thousands of years ago. Their analysis revealed that the ancient Egyptians did not rely on a single oil or a single type of resin. Instead, they created numerous specialized mixtures, each designed for a specific stage of the mummification process. Every formula served a different purpose, from eliminating odors and preventing fungal growth to killing bacteria and slowing the body's natural decomposition. According to the researchers, the ingredients included oils derived from juniper, cypress, and cedar trees, along with pistachio resin, animal fat, and beeswax. All of these substances possess excellent antibacterial and antifungal properties, making them highly effective for preserving human remains in Egypt's hot, arid climate. But perhaps the greatest surprise was that the Egyptians did not apply the same formula to the entire body. After analyzing the chemical residues remaining inside each jar, researchers discovered that different body parts were treated with completely different mixtures. For example, pine resin and castor oil were used specifically for the head, while other areas of the body received entirely different combinations. This discovery demonstrates that the Egyptian mummification process was far more sophisticated than scientists had previously imagined. And the discoveries didn't stop there. The research also solved another mystery that had puzzled scholars for centuries. Ancient Egyptian texts frequently mention a substance called antiu. For many years, researchers could only speculate that antiu referred to a fragrant resin or perhaps frankincense. Now, thanks to chemical analysis, scientists know that antiu was actually a carefully blended mixture consisting of cedar oil, juniper oil, cypress oil, and animal fat. Not a single ingredient as previously believed. Even that wasn't the most astonishing revelation. When scientists traced the origins of these ingredients, they discovered that many of them did not come from Egypt at all. In addition to materials imported from the Mediterranean region, researchers identified evidence of elemi oil and resins from several tree species native to Southeast Asia. This means that more than 2,600 years ago, ancient Egypt was already participating in an extensive international trade network that connected regions across Africa, the Mediterranean, and perhaps even parts of Asia. Rare and valuable ingredients traveled enormous distances for one extraordinary purpose: to preserve the human body after death. So it would not be an exaggeration to say that the discovery of this ancient embalming workshop at Saqqara has done far more than reveal the formula behind the world's most famous mummies. It has also opened an entirely new window into the medical knowledge, chemical expertise, and far-reaching trade networks of ancient Egyptian civilization. Sometimes, all it takes is a handful of dust-covered clay jars for history to tell us extraordinary stories that remain beyond human understanding for thousands of years. And isn't that absolutely fascinating? The mysterious scroll, hidden inside an Egyptian mummy's abdomen, left archaeologists stunned. Imagine that one day archaeologists open an ancient Egyptian mummy, and instead of finding gold, treasure, or protective amulets, they discover a carefully preserved scroll tucked inside the deceased's body, one containing a passage from one of ancient Greece's most famous epic poems. What would you think it meant? Was it part of a unique religious ritual, a secret message meant to accompany the dead into the afterlife, or simply an extraordinary coincidence that defies explanation? If you can't answer that question just yet, then let's travel to the archaeological site of Oxyrhynchus, an ancient cemetery located in the town of Al-Banasa, in Egypt's Minya Governorate, where this remarkable mystery first came to light. During an excavation led by the University of Barcelona in Spain, archaeologists uncovered a mummy dating to Egypt's Roman period, spanning from 30 BC after the death of Queen Cleopatra to AD 641, when Egypt came under the control of the Rashidun Caliphate. At first, everything unfolded much like hundreds of previous excavations, but when researchers carried out a detailed examination of the mummy's body, they discovered something completely unexpected inside the abdominal cavity. It wasn't jewelry, it wasn't a golden amulet. Instead, It was a carefully preserved papyrus scroll that had remained hidden there for thousands of years. What truly astonished the team was the text written on it. After deciphering the document, researchers discovered that it contained a passage from Book 2 of the Iliad, Homer's legendary epic describing the famous catalogue of ships, the list of Greek forces that sailed to attack the city of Troy. At this point, many people naturally ask the same question. Why would a Greek literary masterpiece be placed inside the body of an Egyptian mummy? That is exactly the mystery archaeologists are still trying to solve. According to Esther Pons-Melado, the director of the excavation, the papyrus was most likely placed inside the deceased during the mummification process itself. The research team believes its purpose may have been to protect the deceased's soul during its journey into the afterlife. In fact, placing papyrus inside mummies is not entirely unprecedented. Archaeologists have discovered similar examples before. However, those papyrus scrolls almost always contained magical spells or religious texts intended to help the deceased overcome the dangers awaiting them in the next world. This discovery, however, is completely different. For the first time in archaeological history, part of the Iliad, the Greek epic composed approximately 2,700 to 2,800 years ago, has been found inside an Egyptian mummy. As a result, this extraordinary find has raised a whole new series of questions about the cultural exchange between Greek and Egyptian civilizations during the Roman occupation of Egypt. Was the individual buried here a scholar with a deep appreciation for Greek literature? Or did the scroll hold a religious meaning that modern researchers have yet to fully understand? Unfortunately, scientists still don't have the answers. Their initial analyses reveal only that the mummy belonged to a man. His identity, occupation, and social status all remain unknown. Even more fascinating, this isn't the first time the cemetery at Oxyrhynchus has amazed the archaeological world. During previous excavation seasons at the same site, researchers uncovered more than a dozen mummies with gold tongues. As we know, according to ancient Egyptian beliefs, a golden tongue would allow the deceased to speak with the gods and communicate more easily in the afterlife. Now, the discovery of a papyrus scroll containing part of the Iliad has added yet another mystery to a site already famous for its extraordinary archaeological finds. Perhaps future advances in scientific technology will eventually reveal why the ancient Egyptians placed a Greek literary masterpiece inside the body of the dead. But for now, this remarkable papyrus remains one of the most unusual and unexplained discoveries ever found inside an Egyptian mummy. Mummy that contained 2 unborn lives reveals a heartbreaking secret from more than 2,300 years ago. You've probably heard of ancient Egyptian mummies buried with gold, precious amulets, and priceless treasures. But what if someone told you that scientists discovered 3 lives within a single mummy? Would you believe it? It sounds like something out of a supernatural legend, but this discovery is entirely real. And the deeper researchers investigated, the more they realized that what lay behind it wasn't an ancient curse or a mysterious ritual. It was a heartbreaking tragedy that leaves almost anyone speechless. The story begins with the mummy of a young Egyptian woman dating back more than 2,300 years to Egypt's late period, which lasted from approximately 712 to 332 BC. The mummy was discovered in the early 20th century and quickly attracted the attention of archaeologists. Yet it took more than a century of research and the help of modern medical imaging technology for the secrets hidden inside her body to finally come to light. When the coffin was first opened in 1908, researchers initially believed it was simply another ordinary Egyptian mummy. But during their very first examination, they made an astonishing discovery. Inside the young woman's body was the carefully wrapped fetus of an unborn baby. Between her legs, they also found traces of the placenta. This remarkable discovery prompted scientists to conduct a much more detailed investigation. After examining the pelvic region, they found that the fetus's skull had become lodged inside the birth canal. That crucial detail led experts to conclude that the young woman most likely died during an extremely difficult childbirth. At first, it seemed that the mystery had been solved, but it hadn't. The most shocking discovery would not come until more than a century later. Thanks to advances in CT scanning and modern medical imaging, a team of American researchers decided to perform a new, non-invasive examination of the mummy without damaging the remains. The results stunned everyone. Inside the young woman's chest cavity, they discovered another unborn fetus. In other words, this was not simply the mummy of a mother and her child. It contained 3 lives, all resting together inside a single coffin for more than 2,300 years. An extraordinary discovery, isn't it? According to Francine Margolis, the American archaeologist and lead author of the study, which involved researchers from George Washington University, this is believed to be the first known case of a mummified woman carrying twins ever discovered anywhere in the world. The findings were later published in the International Journal of Osteoarchaeology, marking one of the most remarkable discoveries involving Egyptian mummies in recent years. Many of you may be wondering, if the second fetus was originally inside the mother's womb, how did it end up in her chest? According to the researchers, the ancient Egyptians did not intentionally move the fetus. Instead, after the mother's death, the natural decomposition of soft tissues, particularly the diaphragm and the structures supporting the abdominal cavity, allowed the second fetus to gradually shift upward into the chest. Later, when the mother's body was carefully mummified, the embalming process unintentionally preserved the second unborn child in its new position. By analyzing her skeletal remains, scientists determined that the mother was only 14 to 17 years old when she died. She stood approximately 5 feet tall and is estimated to have weighed between 99 and 121 pounds during her lifetime. By the standards of ancient Egypt, she was still considered physically small and not yet fully developed. Experts believe that her young age, her narrow pelvis, and the fact that she was carrying twins combined to make childbirth extraordinarily dangerous. Even today, modern medicine recognizes twin pregnancies as carrying significantly higher risks. It's not difficult to imagine that more than 2,000 years ago, without any form of modern medical care, the chances of survival for a teenage girl in those circumstances would have been extremely slim. This discovery is important not only from an archaeological perspective, but also because it provides valuable insight into the lives of women in ancient Egypt. At that time, many girls married and became pregnant while they were still very young, long before their bodies had fully matured for childbirth. As a result, complications during labor were among the leading causes of death for women in the ancient world. Perhaps what makes this story so extraordinary isn't simply that scientists discovered another unborn child inside the mother's body. It's the fact that time itself preserved the final moments of 3 lives for more than 2,300 years. Every layer of linen wrapping, every bone, and every CT scan tells a heartbreaking story that history itself never recorded in words. As you can see, archaeological discoveries do far more than help us understand civilizations long lost to history. They remind us that behind every mummy was a real human being, a real life, and sometimes a tragedy so profound that it still moves people thousands of years later. And that is what makes archaeology such a fascinating and truly extraordinary field. Well, we've now reached the end of our journey through some of Egypt's most astonishing archaeological mysteries. Some of these mysteries have finally been solved, while others remain unsolved to this day, continuing to challenge archaeologists and historians around the world. So, what about you? Which discovery impressed you the most or fascinated you the most? I'd love to hear your thoughts, so don't hesitate to leave a comment below. And if you enjoyed this video, please give ancient history a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any of our future explorations into the world's most incredible archaeological discoveries. For now, thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.